All right. I want you to forget everything you think you know about a simple story. Because this isn't a story. It's a journey. And we're not just reading a poem. We are going on a guided tour of the abyss. A place engineered with a divine and absolutely terrifying sense of justice. So, let's begin our descent. And as the famous warning says, you really should abandon all hope. This is one of the very first things you're hit with. Right at the gates, before we even get to the real punishments, we find these souls. And just think about that for a second. They have no hope of death. Their life is so blind, so worthless, that they are envious of every other fate. They literally look down at the people being burned alive or frozen in ice, and they wish they could trade places. It's an absolutely chilling way to start, isn't it? It's a promise that what's coming is so much worse than just ceasing to exist.
So who are these poor souls, the ones even hell doesn't want? Well, this is our first real lesson in how this place works. We find this massive, screaming crowd of people who are trapped. They're not in hell, but they're not out of it either. They're stuck in this horrible waiting room, this vestibule. And they represent what might be the most pathetic failure of all. The failure to ever pick a side, the failure to have ever mattered at all. These are the neutrals. The people who only ever looked out for number one. They never committed to good, never committed to evil. They just existed. In life, they stood for absolutely nothing, so in death, they are nothing. As the poem says, mercy and justice both disdain them. Heaven doesn't want them, and hell won't even let them in because they bring no glory to it. So what happens to them? They spend eternity chasing a blank banner that they can never, ever catch, while swarms of wasps and hornets sting them relentlessly. And the blood and tears that stream down their faces, well, that feeds the maggots and worms crawling at their feet. It is the perfect picture of a pointless life getting a pointless eternity.
And this brings us to the core, terrifying logic of the whole system. The punishments here are never random. It's a concept called contrapasso. Basically, the punishment is a poetic, symbolic reflection of the sin itself. It's like justice as a work of art. Every single torment we're about to see is a perfect, twisted mirror of the life that was lived. You have to get this. It's not just about pain for pain's sake. It's about a terrible, inescapable logic.
Okay, our descent continues. We move past Limbo. That's the sad, dark home of the good people who just lived before the right faith. And we cross into the second circle. And here the real punishments start. You feel the air change. It gets darker, and you start to hear it. This sound of wailing carried on an infernal hurricane that never, ever stops. This is where we find the sinners of the flesh, the ones who let passion completely overwhelm their reason. And then, out of that violent, roaring storm, a voice calls out. But it's not the snarl of some monster. It's a voice filled with this profound sadness, this tragic politeness. These souls who say they stained the world incarnadine, meaning they colored the world blood red with their passion, they still have this heartbreaking courtesy. They can see our travelers alive, and they speak with this gentle sorrow that's so completely at odds with the violent hell they're trapped.
And right here is the perfect example of that contrapasso logic we were talking about. See, in life, these people were swept away by the storm of their own desires, right? They gave up all control for passion. So in death, they are swept away for all eternity by a literal, unstoppable storm. They have no control, no rest, just thrown back and forth in the dark, slamming into each other, forever trapped in the very tempest they first created inside themselves. We're going much deeper now, down to the 8th circle. And the first thing you notice is the smell. It's a stench so foul it just assaults you. We've left behind the sins of weakness, the sins of passion. Now, we're in the realm of cold, calculated evil. This is where malice and intellect are twisted together to deceive. It's a place called the Molly Bulge, which means the evil pouches. And it's basically a giant circular stadium of pain with 10 deep ditches, each one for a different kind of fraud, the sin that just shatters human trust. And the list of sins here is just a catalog of human deceit. These are all cold-blooded crimes. The flatterers, the ones who spewed filth to get ahead, they're forced to wallow in a river of human excrement. The thieves, they're trapped in a pit of snakes, and the snakes are constantly biting them, stealing their human forms, so they lose their very identity over and over again. And the simoniacs, the corrupt church officials who sold holy offices, they get a sick parody of baptism.
They're stuffed headfirst into holes in the rock, with only their feet sticking out, which are licked by eternal flames. Now, in one of these ditches, our traveler sees something really strange. It's a procession of figures, and they're moving with this agonizing slowness. But they glitter. From a distance, they look almost beautiful, like a line of monks in these ornate golden robes. But you can tell they're in pain. The sight is so confusing that the traveler just has to ask, "What is this sparkling burden you're carrying?" And the answer is absolutely chilling. These are the hypocrites. Their cloaks are gorgeous and golden on the outside, right? A perfect symbol for the holy, righteous image they show to the world. But on the inside, hidden from everyone, they are lined with solid, crushing lead. So their punishment is to walk forever under the massive, unbearable weight of their own lie. A heavy, secret truth hidden under a beautiful, hollow surface. As we move to the next ditch, everything just erupts into pure chaos. Because here, we're not just dealing with the sinners, we're dealing with their torturers. It's a squad of monstrous black-winged demons called the Mollybranch, the Evil Claws. And they patrol the edge of this river of boiling pitch, carrying these long, nasty-looking grappling hooks. And you can just see the malicious joy on their faces. They are loving their work. The sinners boiling in this pit are the Barrators. Think of them as corrupt politicians, officials who used their positions to make shady, under-the-table deals for personal gain. So just like their deals were dark, sticky, and hidden from public view, they now spend eternity submerged in a river of boiling black tar. And if any of them dares to pop his head up to catch a breath, the Mollybranch are on him in a second, tearing him with their hooks and dragging him right back under. And get this, these aren't just generic monsters. They're a whole crew. They have names, they have personalities, and they take a cruel delight in their job. You hear their leader call out their names in this terrifying roll call: Libicocco, Dragignazzo, Tusked Siriato, Graffiacane, Farfarello, and Mad Rubicante. You can almost hear the gnashing of their teeth and the scrape of their hooks on the stone as they stalk the banks, just waiting for someone to make a mistake. We're leaving the fire and the filth and the chaos behind now. The final descent is into silence, and into a cold so absolute, it feels like the death of heat itself. You see, the very bottom of hell is not a fiery pit. It's a vast, frozen lake. All the shrieks and screams are gone, replaced by this profound, terrible stillness. We've reached the ninth circle, the domain of the ultimate sin, the one that freezes the very heart of love and trust: betrayal. The logic here is just absolute. Betrayal is the ultimate cold-hearted act, right? It's the polar opposite of love, and love is warmth. So the punishment for the coldest sin is the ultimate, eternal cold. Down here, at the center of everything, traitors are locked in ice like insects trapped in amber. Some are frozen right up to their necks, and when they cry, their tears freeze instantly on their faces, sealing their eyes shut in a mask of ice. They are completely and utterly trapped, alone, preserved in their treachery for all time. And it's here, in the ice, that our traveler meets Count Ugolino, who is spending eternity gnawing on the skull of the man who betrayed him. But he tells a story of an agony even greater than that, something from his life on Earth. He talks about being locked in a stone tower with his 4 young sons and left to starve. And day after day, he had to watch them waste away, seeing his own gaunt, dying face reflected in their eyes. At one point, watching his innocent children suffer, the grief and the sheer helplessness become too much to bear. It's a pain so immense it has no outlet, no words. So he bites both of his own hands. You have to understand, this isn't from hunger. It's a purely physical explosion of a pain that's beyond tears, beyond reason, beyond anything. And what happens next? Well, it's one of the most horrifying and heartbreaking things ever written. His children, seeing him bite his own hands, they misunderstand. They think their father's agony is from hunger. So in this act of pure, selfless, innocent love, they offer their own starving bodies to him. They tell him, "Father, it would hurt us less if you ate us." The story ends with the chillingly ambiguous line, "Then fasting had more power than grief." And so our journey ends here, at the frozen heart of it all.
We've walked through a universe where justice isn't random, it's a terrible and perfect mirror of the crime. We've seen everyone from the pathetic neutrals who couldn't be bothered to choose, all the way down to the icebound traitors at the very bottom. We've toured a moral landscape built on absolute logic. And it really forces you to ask yourself, if this is the consequence, this perfect, horrifying logic, what does it reveal about the choices and the betrayals, both big and small, that we all face every single day?